What's going on? I am Derek Leonard of BigdGuitars. I am one of the judges in the Great Guitar Build-Off of 2021. The Great Guitar Build-Off is a competition between guitar builders worldwide, and I took second last year in the invitational contest. The Great Guitar Build-Off exists to provide those less fortunate with access to guitar building tools, courses, instructions, etc. So I posted a video earlier this week on my top 5 for the scratch build and the kit build, and then from that I was supposed to rank those guitars in order. So I posted the video. There's a little bit of confusion of who and what that list was. I misread the email slightly, sort of followed the directions, but I wanted to follow up and do the ranking as well. I did watch all of the videos for the guitars that were submitted in the top 10. So this was the list that was voted on by people who had submitted votes for the Great Guitar Build-Off, and then Crimson Guitars pick the top 10 vote getters, and then from the judges we're going to go through and submit our top 5. I spent probably about 4 to 5 hours on Sunday getting to my top 5, and then for me it was pretty obvious on which ones were sort of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 from that list. To be honest, guys, I was surprised by some of the guitars that did not make the list of the top 10. There were a number of guitars on that were incredibly awesome that weren't even in the top 10. So that was sort of a disappointment in the way the voting turns out, but that's the way it happens. Alright, so here are the Great Guitar Build-Off kit finalists, and I actually thought the kit finalists were a lot nicer than some of the scratch builds. I had a lot more struggle narrowing down this top 5. We have Simon Cox, George, Tyler, Stuart, Stephen, Terrell, Chris, Curtis, Israel, and Richard. These are the top 10 that were submitted to me from Crimson. These were the top 10 vote getters, and my job is to narrow down the 5. You've already seen my top 5, but now I have to rank them. So number 5 for me was Stephen Tucker. We're going to go from 5 to 1 here. I enjoyed this guitar a lot. It reminds me of my Explorer build. I do like the change in the humbucker routes for the neck pickup. That's just a different twist, and I kind of liked it. It has something to it. The controls are cool in the way that they're laid out. I like where the switches didn't do any coloring, but used some of the mahogany maple. I am a huge mahogany maple guy. I did a sort of Chris Craft inspired build years ago. Like the way this looks. Beautiful flame maple. The only thing I didn't like on this guitar was the back control cavities. I would have preferred these to have been in wood or something along those lines. I just didn't like the way the screws stuck out here. I thought as you're playing it would get stuck on your clothes or something along those lines. That's probably my only really major critique, but look at that figure of this wood. It's really nice looking guitar, just unique. Enjoy kind of the headstock matching as well. I thought this was one of the better designs in terms of matching the headstock to the body. That's really cool. That point is cool. So this is well done. I like this. Just the back was sort of why I didn't move it along as far. Number 4 for me was George Fighers. I know I'm butchering that name. Sorry. Obviously, Bigsby's are near and dear to my heart. I like the color scheme on this guitar. It is a really neat color scheme. Sort of reminds me of the Skybird that I recently put together. I am not a huge fan of the painted fretboard in this one, but I do like the inlays, and I like the way it was done. We'll see how the long-term wear handles with the white, but the color scheme is outstanding. The staining is cool. You know, that's my custom headstock as well. but well laid out guitar. I did like this. I liked watching the videos. I love these knobs. Just really great color scheme, and near and dear to my heart is, I guess I kind of just did this. So I did move this into number 4. Number 3 then for me was Stuart Murray and the, I guess, epoxy barbed wire guitar. The more I looked at this guitar, the more I really liked it. And that usually isn't the case. I think it was really well done. It was executed nicely. Just a neat looking design. Really cool in terms of just it stands out from the crowd. I did really love these headstock modification, which just got those little nibs. I think that just matches the vibe. It's really cool. I thought that the more I looked at it, the more I liked it. So this is number 3 for me. Number 2 and number 1 were really close, and I know probably some other folks will have this as number 1, but this is the Back to the Future guitar, I guess we could call it. This is just awesome. The guitar is really nicely done. Beautiful paint scheme in terms of how it was dyed. Great sort of steampunk-ish. I know that's not the right way to say it in terms of what this is, but this Back to the Future vibe. Love it that it carried through to the headstock. Just really neat. I would love to play this guitar and play around with it. The one thing that kind of got me on this, and I said it in the other video, was I just wish that the hardware was aged slightly to match the vibe of the rest of the body. I just didn't think like the chrome plated hardware matched the rest of the body. I don't know if it should have been aged slightly or something else, or even just rubber steel. Well, that was the only kind of negative I had against this, because that was like I guess the only thing that stood out is the one thing I didn't like. But in terms of the style and the vibe, this guitar is really cool. Would be awesome to play it and just have it for screwing around. Really well done, really nicely executed. Just my only negative is just that. So I would say this is like 1B, but I couldn't do that for the number 1 ranking like I did in the number 2 ranking of the scratch build. So the number 1 for me was actually Strut Guitars. And the reason I rank this one number 1 is because it incorporates a couple things that I really like. It's a custom shape that just fits awesome. He's got the recessed cavities. The color scheme is perfect. The green, the scales, the red really just goes so well together. And it just, I thought the vibe was just slightly better. And I love that this was carried through to the headstock, which is where I think a lot of times, even me, we don't carry it all the way through, but this was carried through all the same, and it just matched. Like I thought it just overall, if I'm looking at overall, this really did it for me. I think the scheme and the layout just put this one over the top. I love the output jack on the back. You know, if you look at the whole guitar, it's really beautiful. It's a really neat piece of art, and that is my number 1. I would say some guys may put Israel's first, but this was my number 1. I just thought the total execution of it was really nice, and really enjoyed sort of looking at this, watching the video of it and everything. So that is my number 1 for the kit build. I will be doing a video on Judge's Choice after this. Like I said, I thought there were a bunch of guitars that got left out of the top 10 that I really like, so I picked out a bunch that I thought could be top 10, so I'll be posting that next week as well. So that is my 2 cents as a judge. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you in the next video.